If you could go back and study something completely different, what would you choose?
Honestly, I think I'd study psychology. I'm way too curious about why people do the things they do.
That's interesting because you never talk about that. What did you actually study?
Business, which is fine, but sometimes I wonder about the version of me that chose psychology instead.
See, that's exactly today's topic, what we study and how we talk about it in English.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Crack the Lingo.
We're talking about education today, your subject, your studies, your school or university life.
It's such a relatable topic because literally everyone has studied something, whether they loved it or hated it.
Exactly. And it's a great way to practice English too, because you use so many different phrases, majoring in something, being interested in a subject, struggling with a class.
True, and by the end of this episode, you'll be able to talk about your own studies naturally without sounding like a textbook.
No boring grammar lecture here, just two friends talking about school and learning.
So get comfortable and let's get into it.
Before we start, quick favor. If you're enjoying Crack the Lingo, hit the like button.
And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time. New episodes every week to help your English sound more natural.
And here's today's comment question. What did you study or what are you studying right now?
Write your answer below in English. We genuinely read every comment.
Okay, let's actually get into it. So Daniel, tell me more about business. Why did you choose that?
Honestly, it felt like a safe choice at the time. My parents thought it would lead to a stable career.
That's such a common story. A lot of people choose their subject based on safety, not passion.
Exactly, and to be fair, it wasn't a bad choice. I just sometimes wonder what else I could have explored.
I understand that completely. What about the parts of business you actually enjoyed?
I really liked marketing, actually. Understanding how people make decisions was probably the closest I got to psychology anyway.
That's a nice connection. So maybe you found your curiosity a different way.
Maybe. What about you? What did you study?
I studied literature. I've always loved reading, so it felt like a natural choice for me.
That makes sense. Was it what you expected or different?
Honestly, it was harder than I expected. Everyone assumes literature is just reading books for fun, but there's so much analysis involved.
Analysis, meaning you have to look deeply into something and explain what it means, right?
Exactly. You could say we had to analyze the author's use of language in every single essay.
That sounds intense, honestly. I always thought literature students just discussed their favorite characters.
I wish. Some weeks I felt like I was studying the writer's mind more than the actual story.
That's a different kind of challenge than I expected. Did you enjoy it despite the difficulty?
I did, most of the time. There's something satisfying about understanding a book on a much deeper level.
I respect that. I don't think I have the patience for that kind of detailed analysis.
Fair enough. We all have our strengths. Speaking of strengths, was there a subject you really struggled with?
Oh, definitely. Statistics. Numbers and formulas were never my strong point.
Struggled with. That's such a useful phrase. It means you found something difficult and had trouble understanding it.
Right, you could say, I really struggled with statistics during my first year.
That's very relatable. What made it so difficult for you specifically?
Honestly, I think it was the pace. The professor moved so quickly, and once I fell behind, everything felt confusing.
Falling behind, that must have been stressful. Did you ever catch up eventually?
Eventually, yes, but only because a classmate basically tutored me every week before exams.
That's such a good example of how helpful peer support can be. Did you ever return the favor?
Actually, yes. I helped her with an essay writing class where she was struggling instead. It felt like a fair trade.
That's a lovely story, honestly. Sometimes the best learning happens outside the actual classroom.
I completely agree with that. What about you? Any subject that gave you trouble?
Definitely public speaking. I used to get incredibly nervous presenting in front of the class.
Really? You seem so comfortable talking now, especially on this podcast.
It took years to get here, honestly. I used to shake, forget my words, everything.
That's surprising to hear, but also encouraging. It shows that skills really can improve with practice.
Exactly. Nobody starts confident. Confidence usually comes after a lot of uncomfortable practice.
That's such an important message for our listeners too, especially anyone nervous about speaking English out loud.
Absolutely. Confidence in a new language works exactly the same way. You build it slowly through practice, not overnight.
Well said. Speaking of group situations, how did you feel about group projects back then?
Honestly, mixed feelings. Some groups worked great, and some were a complete disaster.
I know that feeling. Was there ever a project where you did most of the work alone?
Oh, definitely, more than once. One member basically disappeared for the entire semester and still got the same grade.
That's so frustrating. I think almost everyone has a story like that from school.
It really does seem universal. Did you have a similar experience?
Actually, yes, but from the other side. I was the one who fell behind once, and my teammates covered for me without complaining.
That's honest of you to admit. What happened that time?
I had a family emergency during a big project, and my teammates just quietly took over my part.
That's really kind, honestly. Group work isn't always bad then. Sometimes it saves you.
Exactly. I think it depends completely on who you end up working with.
True. Did that experience change how you treat group work now?
It did, actually. I try to be the reliable person in any group now because I remember how much it mattered when I needed it.
That's a lovely lesson to take from something that could have just felt embarrassing.
I think so too. Okay, here's another question. Did you ever study a subject just because a friend was taking it too?
Guilty, actually. I took a photography elective purely because my best friend signed up for it.
Did you end up enjoying it, or did you regret following a friend instead of your own interest?
Surprisingly, I loved it. It became one of my favorite classes, even though I picked it for the wrong reason.
That's a nice twist. Sometimes the wrong reason leads to the right discovery.
Exactly. What about you? Ever choose something just to be with a friend?
Once, a language class. I ended up dropping out after a month, but my friend stuck with it and became fluent.
That's funny in a slightly painful way. Any regrets about quitting?
A little, actually. I sometimes think about restarting it, especially since I see the value of language learning now, obviously, given this podcast.
That's a great point to bring up, honestly. Have you ever thought about which language you'd choose if you started again?
I think Spanish, mainly because it feels useful and I already recognize some words from movies and music.
That's a great starting point, actually. Recognizing words already gives you some confidence before you even begin.
True. Maybe one day I'll actually commit to it properly instead of just talking about it. Anyway, let's talk about something different. Do you think what you studied actually matches what you do now?
Somewhat, yes. I don't write novels for a living, but I definitely use analytical thinking every single day.
That's interesting. I think my situation is actually the opposite.
Really? How so?
I studied business, but I ended up working in something completely unrelated to my original plan.
Wait, so your degree isn't really connected to your current job at all?
Barely. I think I use maybe 10% of what I actually learned in university.
That's surprising, honestly, but I think it's more common than people realize.
I agree. A lot of people end up in careers that have very little to do with their original subject.
Do you regret studying business then, since it didn't lead exactly where you expected?
Not really, actually. I think it still taught me discipline, how to manage time, how to work under pressure.
That's a fair point. Sometimes what you gain from studying isn't the subject itself, but the skills around it. That's such a helpful way to look at it, especially for anyone worried they chose the wrong subject.
Definitely. Nothing is really wasted, even if it feels that way at the time.
Quick challenge for everyone listening right now. Pause for a second and think of one skill from school you still use today, even in a small way.
It doesn't have to be the whole subject, just one small skill.
Exactly. Then write it in the comments. We're genuinely curious what people come up with.
Okay, back to us. Let's talk about study habits. Were you an organized student or more relaxed about deadlines?
Extremely organized. Almost too organized, honestly. I made schedules for my schedules.
I'm laughing because that sounds exhausting, but also impressive.
It worked most of the time, but it also meant I stressed a lot about small things.
I was the complete opposite. I usually did everything last minute right before deadlines.
I actually disagree with leaving everything until the end. That sounds so stressful to me.
Honestly, it was stressful, but somehow I always felt more focused under pressure.
Really? I think I'd panic completely if I left things that late.
I remember one specific night. I had a huge assignment due at 9 in the morning, and I hadn't even started by midnight.
What happened?
I stayed up the entire night, drank way too much coffee, and somehow finished it at 7 in the morning. I still don't know how.
That sounds absolutely terrifying, but also kind of impressive in a chaotic way.
It really was chaotic. I don't recommend it, but at the time, it felt like an achievement.
I think our listeners can relate to that feeling, even if it's not the healthiest approach.
Definitely. I think a lot of students have at least one story like that.
True. Do you think your study style changed over time, or did it stay the same until the end?
Honestly, it got slightly better, but I never fully became an organized person like you.
That's fair. I think most people fall somewhere between the two extremes eventually.
Probably. Speaking of pressure, how did you handle exam season? Did it stress you out?
Completely. Exam season for me meant color-coded notes, endless flashcards, and way too much caffeine.
Color-coded notes, that's next level organization, honestly.
It probably was excessive, but it helped me feel in control, even if it didn't always help me remember more.
I actually handled exams differently. I focused on practice questions instead of rereading notes.
That's smart, actually. Did that method work well for you?
Most of the time, yes, though I definitely had a few exams where I underestimated how much I needed to prepare.
Give me an example. What happened?
I once assumed a final exam would be easy based on the midterm, and it was completely different, much harder.
Oh no, how did that go?
Not great, honestly. I passed, but barely, and I learned never to assume an exam pattern without checking properly.
That's such a valuable lesson, though, even if it came from a stressful moment.
Exactly. Most lessons in life seem to come from moments we'd rather forget.
That's very true. All right, let's shift gears a little.
Actually, let's talk about something a bit lighter first. Did you have a favorite teacher or professor?
Yes, actually. My literature professor in second year completely changed how I saw books.
What made them so special?
They never just explained the book. They asked questions that made you think for yourself.
That sounds like a really valuable teaching style. Thought-provoking, right?
Exactly. You could say that class was really thought-provoking. It changed how I saw the subject completely.
I love that phrase. I had a professor like that too, actually, for a business ethics class.
Oh, tell me more about that one.
He used real company examples instead of just theory, and it made everything feel practical instead of abstract.
Abstract, meaning something is theoretical or hard to connect with real life, right?
Exactly. You could say, the lecture felt too abstract. I couldn't connect it to anything real.
That's such a great pair of words together. Abstract and thought-provoking. Very useful for describing classes.
Definitely. Okay, one more question before vocabulary. If you could recommend one subject to every English learner, what would it be and why?
I'd honestly say communication skills, even outside of language learning. Being able to express yourself clearly helps in every area of life.
That's a strong choice. I think I'd say something like critical thinking, learning how to question and evaluate information properly.
Both of those connect so well to language learning too, actually.
They really do. All right, let's move into today's vocabulary review before we wrap everything up.
We covered some really useful words and phrases today.
Our first one was struggled with, meaning you found something difficult and had trouble managing it.
Example, I really struggled with statistics during my first year.
Next, we had analyze, which means to look deeply into something and explain what it means.
Example, we had to analyze the author's use of language in every essay.
Then we had falling behind, meaning not keeping up with the pace of a class or task.
Example, once I fell behind in statistics, everything felt confusing.
We also used thought-provoking, describing something that makes you think deeply.
Example, that class was really thought-provoking. It changed how I saw the subject completely.
Next was abstract, meaning theoretical or hard to connect with real practical life.
Example, the lecture felt too abstract. I couldn't connect it to anything real.
And finally, discipline, meaning the ability to control your behavior and stay consistent, especially with work or study.
Example, university taught me discipline, even more than the actual subject.
Great words today. Struggled with, analyze, falling behind, thought-provoking, abstract, and discipline.
Try using at least one of these the next time you talk about your studies in English.
Now, let's move into a little reflection before we finish today's episode.
I really like this part. It always makes the topic feel personal.
What we study often shapes more than just our career. It shapes how we think and solve problems.
That's such a good point. Even subjects that feel unrelated to our current life leave something behind.
Exactly. Maybe it's a skill, maybe it's a way of thinking, maybe it's just knowing you can survive a difficult class.
That last one is honestly underrated, just proving to yourself that you can push through something hard.
Definitely. And I think that applies to language learning too, honestly. Just showing up and struggling through a lesson still counts as progress.
That's such an encouraging way to think about it. Progress doesn't always feel like progress while it's happening.
Exactly. Sometimes you only see how far you've come when you look back months later.
True. I think a lot of our listeners probably feel that way about their English right now.
Definitely. If you're watching this and still struggling with certain words or grammar, that struggle is part of the process, not a sign of failure.
Well said. So here's our reflection question for you, our listener. What's one thing you learned from your studies that still helps you today, even in a small way?
Take a moment and think about it honestly. It doesn't have to be a big lesson. Even a small habit counts. Try describing your answer in English, using one of today's new words if you can.
And if you want extra support, share your answer in the comments. We genuinely love reading them.
We really do. It helps us understand our listeners better, and it helps you practice real English at the same time.
All right, I think it's time to wrap up before we start comparing our old university schedules in too much detail.
Fair enough. Let's summarize today's episode.
We talked about what we studied, our favorite and hardest subjects, study habits, memorable teachers, and how education connects to real life.
And we learned some useful vocabulary: struggled with, analyze, falling behind, thought-provoking, abstract, and discipline.
Remember, talking about your studies is such a natural way to practice English. Everyone has a story, a struggle, and a lesson learned.
So, next time someone asks what you studied, don't just say the subject name. Talk about why you chose it, what you struggled with, and what it taught you.
That's how a simple answer becomes a real, meaningful conversation.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.
Before you go, tell us what subject you wish you had studied, even if it's completely different from what you actually did.
We'll be reading the comments, and we genuinely can't wait to hear your answers.
Thanks for spending this time with us. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you in the next episode.
See ya.